The Giants are running New York like the Times as Danny is dropping all sorts of dimes. Saquon's thighs are ruining defenses' lives and Leonard Williams making opposing QBs feel him. Receivers think it's scary to line up across James Bradbury, and the Giants have a bright future led by Coach Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Tune in to Drawing About the G-Men every Wednesday at 6, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement that you don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? And how often do you think about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies, doing the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident with your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website or give us a call at 860-430-5397.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R and J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we have breaking news coming in this morning as Aaron Rodgers has tested positive for COVID-19, and he will be out in this Sunday's game against the Kansas City Chiefs. And Jordan Love gets his first start against the two-time defending AFC champions. I know this is they're definitely not as good as they've been the last 2 years, but still very, very tough spot to get your first start against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially at Arrowhead Stadium. So should be very, very interesting at 4:25 on Sunday, and getting into this game. And obviously with Rodgers out, I think the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the way the Chiefs are going to play this game is I think they're going to take away Aaron Jones, because we don't even know if Devontae Adams is going to play. I think what you do if you're the Chiefs is you force Jordan Love to beat you. I don't care if Devontae Adams is on the field. You play. I think you play man coverage. You make sure Tyrann Mathieu is in the box, and you do whatever you can do to force Jordan Love to win this game. And in this game, I think this is a really. I think this is a very close competitive game. I think that the Packers will play that too high cut, will keep their safeties deep, just like the Giants have done, just like every team has done against Kansas City. Because Kansas City refused, they did a better job running the football on Monday night, but they refuse to take those crossing routes. They refuse to take those short routes. They continue to throw the ball deep, which is beyond me. Kansas City's got to start adjusting to the coverages that the defenses are playing against them. So I do think in this game that Mahomes will start taking some of that stuff. I think Kansas City will have success on the ground in this game. I think they'll be able to move the football. I think they'll definitely be able to move the football in this game. Patrick Mahomes right now, he's not been as good. I do think he's still – I don't think he's 100%. I think he's still banged up from that turf toe. And I think because I've seen him under pressure, he hasn't been the same quarterback, this year under pressure. He just hasn't been. You saw it Monday night. He was inaccurate when he was under pressure. He hasn't been the same quarterback this year. I just don't think he's 100%. I think this is a close competitive game, but I think the difference in this game is Kansas City is going to control time of possessions, and Patrick Mahomes is going to make less mistakes than Jordan Love. I think just like the Chiefs did last week, I think they're going to force that turnover. They're going to contain the running game of Aaron Jones. They're going to force a turnover from Jordan Love, and that is ultimately going to be the difference. And that's why I got Kansas City going to 5-4 and beating the Green Bay Packers 26-20. But Justin, can Jordan Love in his first start go into Arrowhead and lead the Packers to their 8th straight win?
I think they can. I have the Packers win this game 27-24. I'm not too confident, but I think you're right. I think Kansas City's going to stack the box and make Jordan Love beat them. But I think, I still think that the Packers, even with that, has still a running game with Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. I think they can do enough still yeah, who knows if Devontae Adams is going to play. I feel a little bit better if Devontae Adams plays as well. Because again, against that secondary, I think you had a big day if Jordan Love can't give him the ball. But yeah, Rodgers is a huge loss to this team. But I think if they can take care of the football, they have a chance in this game, because I think the Packer defense is going to keep them in this game. The defense has played really, really well. You saw it last week against Arizona. I think they're ranked like 6th overall. I just want to what you mentioned with the Chiefs offense. It just seems like the Chiefs offense right now, they're just playing backyard football. Like it seems like it's just street ball right now. With all the deep passes, and they don't want to take anything short. It just seems like they're playing street ball. And I don't know if that's going to change. So I think the Packers could force a couple of turnovers in this game, help out Jordan Love with a couple of short fields. And I'm going to take the Packers. I just don't really like how the Chiefs are playing. And again, if they don't change their ways, I could maybe see them winning 8-9 games, but that's about it. I just, with their defense, I don't think they're not that great of a team right now. The way they're playing, they got lucky the other night. Yeah, they found a way to win, but I think the Packers can come out of Arrowhead and get a win.
And we got a comment from Hector. So you don't it's directed at me. So you don't think Love can do what Cooper Rush and Mike White do and win?
He's right.
He very easily can. They very, very easily can do what he did. I feel like in this game, I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a really close game either way, even with Cooper Rush. Like, I had the Packers winning this game by double digits with Aaron Rodgers, but I do think it's going to be a close game with Jordan Love. I think it's going to be close. But first start in a tough place to play. Grant, he's playing a really bad defense, but first start in a tough place to play, I just don't see it happening. But there's still a fair, and I could be wrong. And the Packers can win this game and can win their 8th straight, because Kansas City is just not the same team this year.
No, absolutely, they're not. And Jordan Love, he's played at Death Valley. He's played at LSU. He's been in some tough environments. Granted, yeah, it was college. But yeah, I think Hector's right. I'm like, even Trevor Siemian last week. Who thought, when he came in, he was a knockoff Tom Brady in the Bucs last week. So it was the week of the backup quarterbacks last week, and I could totally see it happen. Yeah, to be a tough environment, it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it. They're going to have to go on some silent counts. With the crowd level there, they can't really all go out. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but I think he can have success. The Chiefs love the blitz anyways, most of the time. So, they're going to bring pressure out. They're going to, get them under pressure a lot in this game. But, Jordan Love did have some turnover issues at Utah State. I think 4 or 5 in their interceptions his senior year were like Hail Marys kind of did in the half or end of the game stuff. But, the accuracy was kind of a problem. He's got the arm strength, but I think he can go in this game and play well like a Mike White did or a Cooper Rush did last week, because I think their defense keeps them in it. And I'll take Jordan Love to make a player or two against Kansas City defense this week.
Biggest key to this game is going to be, can Kansas City contain the running game of Aaron Jones? They're not facing Devontae Booker this week. They're facing Aaron Jones, one of the better running backs in the league. If they don't contain that running game, if Aaron Jones has a big week, has over 100 yards on the ground, even without Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay has a great chance to win. Because last week without Devontae Adams, they ran the ball against Arizona. That's why they won this game. If they could have a big game if Green Bay could have another big game on the ground, they have a very good chance to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And even absolutely, because they did that last week, and then even AJ Dillon had a really nice week. Seemed like a lot. They put him in there on 3rd down, 3rd and 2. 3rd and 3, and he was able to pick up that first down because he was a tough guy to bring down. Like, even bringing like an AJ Dillon on a 3rd and short to bring him in, give Jones like a breather for a minute. Both those guys ran hard last week. They both played really well, and to go, because Arizona's defense has been pretty good all year. It's one of the best. So yeah, so if they could keep the run, the Packers can stay, keep Mahomes off the field and run the football effectively, I think the Packers definitely have a good shot winning this game.
Absolutely. Should be very, very interesting what happens at 4:25 on Sunday afternoon on Fox. That's going to be a really, really interesting game. But we got to get to the trade deadline, and there was a huge move by the Denver Broncos and the Rams. They made a trade. Von Miller was traded to the Rams for a couple first round picks, a couple second round picks, and I'm telling you, the Rams defense right now, with Von Miller, with Leonard Floyd, with Aaron Donald, with Jalen Ramsey, with Darrell Williams, I think this right now, obviously, I think they're back because I think they slipped up a little bit defensively this year. They weren't great against the run, so I think their defense was still in the top 5. But I think they're back to being the top defense in football with this move. I think this is I know Von Miller isn't the 2015 Von Miller, but Von Miller is still really, really good. He still was the best player on the Broncos, still one of the best players in the Broncos defense, and I think with this trade, the Rams are the best defense in the league. The question is, are they the best team in the NFC? Are they the team that do you think can they host the Super Bowl in their home stadium? I think they have a very good chance to, but still, I still just can't go against Tom Brady, and Matthew Stafford still hasn't won a playoff game. So for me, I still have the Bucs going to the Super Bowl, but Justin, the question is, with this trade, are the Rams the favorite to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC?
I think they are. I think, they're the most complete team right now. Right, them in the air, and the Cardinals, I think, are right there, and I kind of give them the edge over Arizona because of coaching wise. McVay. I know Stafford, has not won a playoff game, but it's like you just kind of see what's going on with Troy and how he was 8 games there. Just to pull out, some of those years when they have 4 or 5 wins in Detroit, it's pretty impressive. So I like the Rams. Adding Von Miller, who I know he's not the same guy, but didn't he win Defensive Player of the Month in September? Like, he had a pretty good month.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
September.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you're not getting the same guy that you had 4 or 5 years ago, but you're still getting a good player, a good pass rusher, because their secondary, I know, has been a little suspect at times. So you add another pass rusher, take some pressure off that secondary. It's going to help even more for this defense. I think it's one of the best defenses, in the league. If they can get the running game going on offense a little bit more, I know they've been banged up, but they have Henderson back. They have Sony Michel as a backup. So, and Cooper Kupp's having a tremendous year right now. So I think the Rams are. I think coaching wise, I think I know their division's tough, and they still have to play Arizona again. I believe they still have the Seahawks. They play the Seahawks again, the Niners still. But I know they have a couple easy games, like even this weekend, or they're not this weekend, but I think they have the Jags in a few weeks. We're going to find out a lot because I know they're at the Niners next week, and then they have a bye before Green Bay. So we're going to find out a lot more about this Rams team. But right now, I think they are the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's debatable. I don't trust in a big game, in a big spot. I just don't trust this quarterback. And yeah, you want to bring up, he was not, in Detroit, he won 4 or 5. He did a really good job. He was a good quarterback. Stafford is a good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback, and he proved that in Detroit because he did for 4 years have Ndamukong Suh and Calvin Johnson in his prime and didn't win a playoff game. If you're supposed to be that good, you win playoff games in this league. This is a quarterback-driven league. It's been for the last decade. If you're that good, you win playoff games. And I just can't. I like Matthew Stafford. I just can't say a team with Matthew Stafford is the favorite to go to the Super Bowl, because if you go back to one of his playoff losses, he had a 10-point lead in that playoff game against Dallas, and he had the ball in his hands, and he didn't get the job done against the Cowboys. So yes, I think he's in the best situation in his career with the coaching and the roster, but I just still with Matthew Stafford at quarterback, I still can't say that team is a Super Bowl favorite. I still am going with the Bucs.
Yeah, I see why. I just worried more. And I hear you because absolutely, Tampa Bay don't trust their defense. I can't. It'll be interesting because the Saints have found ways to kind of make Brady vulnerable, and I don't know if there's there other teams like a Ram or Arizona kind of do what the Saints did and kind of buy them, because I just don't trust the Bucs defense, because if there is a day like Sunday where the Bucs can't get a big stop on defense, and Brady does interception too, they're in trouble. And I think Stafford can throw a pick or two, and still have a chance with how good this defense is. And I don't know if Brady has that down in Tampa Bay, because I know they haven't seen him a ton of the playoffs, and I know, but I think being in Detroit, I don't coaching wise wasn't great, and I know they blew that 10-point lead against Dallas. They won that game. But I think he's a different guy now being in LA. It's most complete roster he's been in. He hasn't been tested, but I think he's in the best spot that he's ever been in, being in LA. And I think and I think if they can get that running game a little bit going a little bit more because he never had that in Detroit. He never had a running game. And I think, too, they blew a 10-point lead because they couldn't run the ball ever. And I think that was part of it. So that they kind of blew that game. So now he's kind of got a running game. If they can get that even more and they can use it more off of play action, I really like this Rams team to go along and win the playoffs.
And we got a comment from Hector. I feel the environment change can make a difference for Stafford to make a playoff run. Very easily can. And I think they're definitely a Super Bowl contender. They're just not my favorite. They're just not my favorite to go to the Super Bowl. They're a Super Bowl contender, absolutely. And they're a lot of people's top team in the NFL right now. But they're just not my favorite to go to the Super Bowl. I like experience in the postseason. That's why I like teams like the Buccaneers. I like Tom Brady. I like experience in the postseason. I like Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. I just like experience in the postseason. I just don't think Stafford has had enough success in the postseason to beat a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers in the postseason. But I do like the Rams. I do like the Rams roster. And Jared puts a comment about Dallas. We'll get to Dallas, okay? I know they're playing well. They're 6-1. But who is the best team Dallas has beaten so far? The best team they've beaten has been the Chargers. And I know very impressive performance Sunday night with Cooper Rush. And this defense definitely improved. I mean, Micah Parsons, I think, I think he's made an even bigger difference than Trayvon Diggs. Micah Parsons has been outstanding on that defense. Trayvon Diggs has been good. Dallas is a complete team. I just think the coach could end up being the issue down the line with the Cowboys. But looking at the NFC, outside of Buffalo, all 5 of those teams in the NFC are clearly better than the second best team in the AFC. And Jared made a comment, impressive going against Tampa opening night too. Yes, very, very impressive going against Tampa. I think the Cowboys are in the mix. They're just not again, just like the Rams, they're just not my favorite. I just don't think if you look longest, I know they have the longest active winning streak in the NFL. I get it, but they have not proven that they played well against Tampa, but they haven't beaten a top team yet. You look at teams like Arizona; they've beaten the Rams. They crushed the Rams on their home field. You look at the Packers; they beat Arizona. You look at the Buccaneers. I know they haven't beaten they beat the Cowboys at home. So the Cowboys just haven't beaten a top team yet. Once they do that, I will put them. I do have them in the top 5, but I would maybe put them ahead of a Tampa Bay, a Rams, a Cardinals, a Packers. But right now, I don't. I have them in the top 5, and I don't have them ahead of those teams. I know they're 6-1. I know they're playing great. I just don't have them ahead of those teams right now.
Yeah, for Dallas right now, they haven't been very great. I know, again, you won Sunday night against Minnesota, but after that first drive, Minnesota became predictable in every single possession. It was run first, second down, throw the ball, and then they kept trying to run that bootleg, and Dallas just kept snuffing it out every time. I thought it was horribly coached by Mike Zimmer and the Vikings. But look, they still won the game. They still found a way to win the game. They got the field goal. They've been really good. And with their schedule, not unrealistic that the Cowboys can go 14-3 or 15-2. It's really not, and they can lock up that bye in a 1 seed. And who knows? Because that defense rush, he's been so key for him so far. They found a way to win. I see Hector's comment. Exactly what I'm trying to
Hector's comment, and it's exactly what I'm trying to explain to people. Yeah, this is the Dallas Cowboys, and people there's a misconception about the Cowboys for years. They've never been a joke. They've always been a talented team. They've always usually when the quarterback stayed healthy, been a team that's won at least half their games. The problem with the Cowboys is they've never had a great coach. I mean, Wade Phillips was a below average coach. Garrett was an average coach at best, and Mike McCarthy is not looking like a great coach. I know they're 6-1, but is not looking like a great coach so far. They've just played. Dak has been better than. They've just played teams they've had more talent than. So we've seen this movie before with the Cowboys when they. I'm just saying, Jared, since Jimmy Johnson, since '93, since Jimmy Johnson. That's what I mean. That's what I meant. In the Jerry, since Jimmy Johnson. That's what I mean. Yes, I know. I misspoke there. The Cowboys haven't had a great coach. I know. Yes. End of the list. Yes. Since Jimmy Johnson, they haven't had. They outside of Parcells after Jimmy left, they really haven't had a great coach. And we've seen this movie before with the Cowboys. We saw it in 2007 when they were the number 1 seed and they lost in the divisional round. We saw it in 2014 when they lost in the divisional round again when they went 12-4, and then we saw it again in 2016 when they lost in the divisional round. This team has been good. They've never been great in years, and I think the biggest reason why is they've never had great coaching, and I think it could come back to bite them again because you could argue all four, maybe outside of Cliff Kingsbury, but out of those top teams, all four of those coaches are better than Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, you could. I think Cliff's probably the only one he's better than. 13 game. I know he's not the greatest, but they have won 13 games his first few years at Green Bay. So I probably put him ahead of both of them. But the Cowboys look, they find ways to lose. They usually in the playoffs the last few years, they haven't had that coach that can kind of make the right. It kind of got out coaching some of those games, which is problematic. You could do that again with McCarthy. But look, they've taken care of business. They've done everything they had to do. They gave Tampa Bay all they could handle with a couple guys out of that game. They've gotten the breaks and they've been able to win these games. And Jared's comment, 1991, the Cowboys
no.
That's against Washington. Finished 15-1, won the Super Bowl.
That was an 89. That was an 89. They went 1-15. Their lone win was against the Cowboys. In 91, the Cowboys, yes, they beat Washington, but that Cowboy team in 91 got to the divisional round and lost to the Lions 38-6. You can look that up. So that's not accurate. The Cowboys that year they went 1-15. I know they beat Washington, but they Jared has an 89. And in 89, Washington didn't win the Super Bowl. 91, they won the Super Bowl. And Dallas gave them their only loss in 91, and Dallas lost in the divisional round. And we got a comment from Jace. Cowboys only have 3 more games against opponents above 500. Raiders, Saints, and Cardinals. They are going to be a contender, but I'm not sold till they win a playoff game. And Jace is right. Jace is right. I mean, I think this is obviously a very good Dallas team. But when they play the Rams, they're not gonna. There's no team in that NFC. Any of these 4 teams, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Bucks, Cardinals, Bucks, or Packers, that they clearly have the better coach or quarterback. When they play the Rams, they definitely don't have the better coach. When they play the Cardinals, they probably don't have the better quarterback. When they play the Packers, you could argue they don't have the better coach or quarterback. And when they play the Buccaneers, you could argue the same. They don't have the better coach or quarterback. So against any of those top 4 teams, they don't clearly have the better coach or quarterback against any of them.
No, they don't at the moment. And I think that you need kind of the top quarterback, or you need that quarterback or coach to kind of get you over the top at times of tough games. Because it's like, where are they really going to be balanced? It's like KC on the road is going to be a test. They still have them coming up in about 2 weeks. Who knows about the Raiders now with the Ruggs news? Who knows what's going to happen there with them? But the Saints are going to be a good one. We're going to find out a lot about them week 17 against the Cardinals. I still think
I got a comment from Jared.
Might have the best defense aside from the Rams.
Aside the Rams,
their run defense is really secondary.
Yeah, their run defense is good. I still say the Buccaneers. I still say the Buccaneers by a little bit, just because of how good Buccaneers still have a really good front seven. I'd still go the Rams, the Bucks, but and then the Packers when healthy, they get Zadarius Smith and they get Jari Alexander back. They arguably might even have a better defense too, and the Cardinals' defense is pretty good as well. So I still think you could argue that, but I might disagree with the Packers and the Bucks there. And Packers went healthy in the Bucks.
Yeah, I will say, I probably still put them behind those teams. Again, they've made the biggest jump defensively. They've been the biggest surprise defensively. I see.
And we got a comment
on that.
We got
top 5 list.
Trent Dilfer, Joe Flacco, and Jim McMahon have won Super Bowls. I'm throwing Trent Dilfer and Jim McMahon out of there. Football was totally different in the early 2000s and in 1985. That's a totally different game. Joe, your point on Joe Flacco. The Ravens are an outstanding organization. That's probably one of the top organizations in all of football, and John Harbaugh is one of the top coaches in the league. The Cowboys organization is not as great, and they don't have one of the top coaches in the league. So Yeah, and it's a good point. And to recap, the Cowboys are a Super Bowl contender. They're just not my favorite because of the schedule they play, and they probably have the worst coach outside of those top 5 teams. That's my point. That's my take on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think they're right. They totally have a chance to make the Super Bowl. They're definitely contender. Yeah, I'm with you. I just need to see them win. I really have to be successful in the playoffs, and until then, I need to see it. And I guess if they get the 1 seed, then it's things that everybody's got to go through Dallas to go get to them. But again, those wild card teams, you're Arizona. I know because again, getting that 1 seed is important for them because that means you're staying away from Arizona or LA more than likely in the divisional round. So if they get that 1 seed, it's kind of stay away from them. I agree. I agree. The degree of difficulty hasn't been high for the Cowboys. It hasn't, but they've taken care of their business. They have, and that's really what matters. As long as you win game, figure it away. Again, I guess it helps in the playoffs too that they've won some close games and they found ways to win. I think that gives you some confidence too as a team that you kind of know games. So I think that's a boost of confidence there. But there is actually some more breaking news in the NFL. This is from Kevin Stefanski. He's
Yes.
This one from one of the Browns reporters. He told Kevin Stefanski on report. He told the Browns, OBJ is not part of the team right now. I would just tell you today he's excused. And we'll see where it goes from there. But it sounds like it could be something more.
Let's get to this.
More could be happening right now.
This has been a total disaster with the Browns and Odell Beckham. This could not have gone worse. And when the Browns picked him up in 2019, we all thought they were going to be Super Bowl contenders. The team ends up going 6-10. In 2020, he ends up getting hurt, and then the Browns, start playing well, and they almost got to the Super Bowl. I mean, they lost, and they won their first playoff game in over 25 years, and then they lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round. And then this year, this team has one of the best rosters in football and is totally underachieved. And for me, there's 2 people to blame in this situation. Kevin Stefanski is not to blame. He's changing the culture. He's creating an identity in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski is not to blame for this. He is not to blame for what's going on. There's 2 people. It's Baker Mayfield and it's Odell Beckham. And both share pretty much both share the same amount of blame because they just have not been able to come together. And it's been and for whatever reason they haven't been. And both are completely to blame for this. I mean, this could have been a really, really good combination. It could have been like what Eli and Beckham had those first 3 years in New York. This could have been a really, really good combination, and it's been a total nightmare between these 2. And both are to blame. I've seen everybody just blame Baker Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski. That's nonsense to just blame those guys. Odell Beckham is to blame for this. His father, tweeting yesterday, that is so immature. And I think it's a great move by Kevin Stefanski to get him away from the team. I think it's a great move by Stefanski to get him away from the team because it's just going to be a distraction. The Browns got a really good roster. They have an identity. They have a good coach in Kevin Stefanski. I love this move by Kevin Stefanski to get him out of here because this is an overrated player. This has been an overrated player for years, even with the Giants. He was a good player. The Giant fans were trying. I was not one of the Giant fans that was not comparing him to Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins because he was not that guy. He does not make players better around him. DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, they make guys better around him. Andre Johnson in his prime, Calvin Johnson in his prime, Larry Fitzgerald, they made players better around him. Odell Beckham does not make players better around him, and that's why this guy is overrated. He's been overrated for years, and he was hyped up because he made one-handed catch against the Cowboys in a game the Giants lost, but he made that one-handed catch, and he was overhyped. And yes, his numbers were good, but a big reason why the numbers were good was because the second best receiver the Giants had was Reuben Randall, and he got targeted all the time. And Eli was still pretty good in his first couple of years in the league. When Eli started to decline, his numbers went down. Then he went to go play with Baker Mayfield. His numbers come down. Odell Beckham is overrated, and the Browns are making the right decision to sit him down because he has been a complete distraction for this Browns team.
No, absolutely, yes, and yeah, I agree. It's been a difficult guy to work with, and yeah, about what his father's saying again. It just all stems back to when guys kind of enable you, and when things aren't going right, they're going to be all complaining to everybody else, and you kind of take that same attitude, like you guys are right. I'm like he hasn't been able to stay healthy most of his career. He's kind of been hurt, but it just kind of blown up in their face here. Yeah, because I know Baker hasn't really gotten the ball. I know he's missed some throw. He's been open at times, in his career, and he hasn't got to him. It just doesn't. And I think maybe part of it is chemistry wise, because Baker, I mean, Odell hasn't been healthy at times, and you just wonder if that chemistry just hasn't been there between those two. And I think that's been part of it, because he's a difficult guy to work with. We've kind of have seen that at times when things like this are going on. He's not, he doesn't seem like he makes it easy on the quarterback at times. So, yeah, he's been difficult. I do think he's a little bit overrated. That's the phenomenal catch he had. But other than that, his numbers don't really pop off the page at times. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. And it makes you wonder, why didn't they just trade him yesterday just for anything? But, who knows? But, yeah, I think right now, because the Browns right now, they've kind of been, I know they're sitting there 4-4, but it kind of seems like maybe there's a little bit something going on. Because you look at the teams that they played, like the top teams, they haven't really been great. I'm like, the Cardinals destroyed them. They haven't, there was a lot of hype around this team. They just haven't lived up to it. You just wonder maybe if there is some turmoil in the locker room with everything, with some of this going on.
Oh, there absolutely is. And this has been an issue with Beckham for years. It started with the Josh Norman stuff. And with the Giants, when he went at it with Josh Norman in a big game for the Giants and caused a distraction there. In 2016, he read in an interview that football wasn't fun. He said that in an interview. Then the 2018 interview was the most disturbing thing with the Giants. And I think after he got paid, he called out. I know Eli wasn't playing well at the time and it was done, but he called out Eli Manning, which was totally inexcusable to have that interview with Josina Anderson. It was totally inexcusable. Led him to be traded. And this guy is getting way too much respect for not being – and he is not as good as people think. This is probably I have to say, in my lifetime, one of the most overrated NFL players in my lifetime, Odell Beckham was. Eli Manning didn't need 2 Super Bowl rings didn't need Odell Beckham to win 2 Super Bowls. The Browns didn't need Odell Beckham to get to the playoffs last year, and I am very happy with Kevin Stefanski is doing. He is setting a standard for this team, and this team has an identity. The only issue there, though, is I feel like he's playing Baker Mayfield. He's not 100%. I feel like he may have to go to Case Keenum this week.
Yeah, he may, because I don't think there's much of a downgrade from an injured Baker to Case Keenum. Case Keenum did get to the NFC Championship game with the Vikings, so it's not like he's probably one of the backups you could probably trust more in this league right now. But back to Odell, I think he's been overrated. Yeah, the Browns really didn't have him a ton last year. He has 2 catches this year. He hasn't played much at all this year. You're kind of at a point. I know they're so banged up, the Browns, but you're kind of at a point where you don't really need this guy. Actually, he has 17 catches. I thought you had less than that, but he's only played in a couple games. I'm thinking he's only played a handful of games this year, but he hasn't. He has been overhyped up. The numbers just haven't really jumped off the page. He's just been hurt too much, and and again, he just seems like a guy too that the ball doesn't go his way. He just doesn't seem like he's a guy that's a real team guy at most times, and he's more of kind of, I want my catches, I want my yards. It seems like, and again, I don't know why you want a guy like that in your locker room, and because that's kind of what it seems like. I know he was kind of quiet for like a year or two in Cleveland, but like the last year and a half, it's just been a lot of. Seems like he's just been complaining about the targets he's gotten.
Yeah, I mean, he had the opportunity to fall in line and be on one of the best, and this was the best team he was on in his career, and all he had to do was fall in line, and he failed to do that. I've lost total respect for him, and I never loved Odell Beckham was with the Giants, but I liked him. I stuck up for him because I felt like at the end Eli was out of his prime, and he was doing what he can. But at this point, I am done with Odell Beckham. I am done with him. I am not defending him anymore. I'm done with him. I'm totally done with Odell Beckham at this point.
No, I don't blame you. You wouldn't. I know, there was a lot of kind of when the Giants traded him, what are we doing here? We just signed him, but I know he just lost Jabril Peppers for the season, but hey, that trade had seemed to work out for the Giants. It was one of
Gettleman's best moves. It was one of Gettleman's best moves as GM. One of the few good moves he's made signing him was a terrible move, but it was one of the few good moves he made was trading Odell Beckham because Dexter Lawrence has been good, and when Jabril Peppers has played, he's been good.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's worked out for you guys. I guess I know hindsight it didn't at the time, but They're paying down. The Giants do something about them. So yeah, and
Xander.
Xander's kind of how with them Cowboys.
Xander, we'll get to. We've been talking about that. You're a little late to the party there. We've been talking about the Cowboys. Me and Jared have been going back and forth about the Cowboys. So you're a little late to the party there, but definitely hang on. We'll be talking about their game against the Broncos. But we got to get back. We got to get back on track here. We got a little off course with the Cowboys and the OBJ news. We got to talk about Derrick Henry, and he is out indefinitely with an ankle injury for the Tennessee Titans. And I still think they very easily can be a playoff team. But I think the issue is they were probably in line to be, the second seed in the NFC. That is just not the case right now with Derrick Henry. I think this team, that has been the identity of this team since 2018, 2019 has been the running game. And Xander, we'll get to the rug stuff too. I mean, it's been the identity of this Titans team. And I just feel like this team is definitely going to – this offense is definitely not going to be the same without Derrick Henry. But if you look at their schedule, they are going to get to 9 wins because they have the Jaguars at home and they have the Texans twice. And the Texans are one of the worst teams that this league has seen since the Browns in 2017. The Texans are absolutely terrible. So I don't care if they don't have Derrick Henry. They'll win those 2 games. And then they have the Jaguars. So they're going to at least get to 9 wins. And I think it's going to be difficult because the Colts got to get to. Do you remember the Colts got to get to 10 wins because they lost 2 games to the Titans. Right now, the Titans are 4 games ahead of the Colts. They're 6-2. The Colts are 3-5. That's why that loss was huge for the Colts on Sunday. Because if the Colts won that game, they'd have a really good chance of winning that division. Right now, even without Derrick Henry, their chances are still really slim to win that division because with 9 games left, they're 4 games behind the Titans.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in a really tight spot, and I see the Dangerous commentates can still be good for that MVP. We'll see how much juice he has left because he's been around for a while. I feel like for the Titans offense, it was so reliant on and hectic time without Henry and outside of Buffalo. Who do you think is AFC contender?
I'd say the Ravens. I'm going to go Ravens because I know they've had a ton of injuries, but I trust the coach and I trust the quarterback. So I would say I think Buffalo's clearly the best team in the AFC. But outside of that, I would go the Ravens just because I trust the coach. This coach has won a Super Bowl before, and I trust the quarterback. I trust the coach and quarterback. The defense isn't great, but it's good enough. But that's why I would go the second best team in the AFC. I would go Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm with you because right now that's really the only really choice. You can't trust Cincinnati. You saw what they did last week. They're still not ready to take that next step.
I can't see that team winning a Super Bowl with Zach Taylor as their head coach. And that game was completely on Zach Taylor for not having that team prepared to play.
No, absolutely. And with everything going on with the Raiders, I can't really call them contenders. They're down to 3 wide receivers right now, so you can't call them contenders. The Chargers can't stop the run. The Chiefs I can't see the Chiefs winning more than 9 games right now. The Patriots are getting better, but they're still 500. I don't think, I think they're getting better, but offensively, they're still they're not going to really they're going to have to get a lot of stops to win games. So, yeah, I think it's really the Ravens. Yeah, there's a lot of injuries, but
if you look at a team like the Steelers, the Steelers, the problem with the Steelers is their quarterback. I don't think Big Ben's good enough anymore. So, yeah, it's definitely the Ravens. It's absolutely the Ravens. It's very hard because, the Cow, just like the teams we talked about, the Packers, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and the Bucks, they're clearly better than the second best team in the AFC. So it's really hard to pick, but obviously I would definitely go with the Ravens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be my answer too. I just, you got Lamar. I know the Ravens have had some clunkers this year, but usually in a big spot, I know 2 weeks ago they got absolutely destroyed by the Bengals, but usually in a big game, you don't really see John Harbaugh's team come out unprepared and, unready like they did 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I think you got to take Baltimore. Their team usually, in January you could trust. Sanders' comment, I think.
Yeah, you look at Sanders' comment. I think any team coming out of the NFC will win the Super Bowl.
Besides Buffalo.
I think the Bills could give any of those teams in the AFC in the NFC trouble. I think their defense is really good. Obviously the issue with the Bills we talked about all year has been their running game and their offensive line isn't great. But I do think if the Bills get into that game, I think they give any of those 5 teams that I mentioned in the NFC trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Buffalo can. The running game's kind of been the issue. The offensive line, same thing. But I with the way their defense has played this year, I think they can keep them in any of those games. But outside of that, Buffalo, I can't see any AFC team winning the Super Bowl. Those 5, 6 NFC teams make a Super Bowl. I can't see anybody outside of Buffalo winning it right now. I just can't. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Buffalo can definitely do it. They can definitely win it, but anybody else in the AFC, I don't see it.
Yeah. So now we got to get to the games, and we'll get because these two teams had action this week. So we'll get to this game first, the Sunday night game between the Titans and the Rams. I think in this game, I think the Rams are going to win this. I think they're going to win it big. I think that Stafford will have a huge game. I think the Titans are going to struggle to run the ball. I think they're going to get pressure on Tannehill. I got the Rams winning this game big. I got them winning it by 2 scores, but Justin 31-17. But Justin, the question is, can Tannehill outduel Stafford for the Titans to get their 5th straight win?
I don't see it. I got the Rams 30-20. As I mentioned, I think the Titans offense is kind of set up for Derrick Henry. Now it's even bigger now that the acquisition of AJ Brown to have that another deep threat. But I just don't know how they're going to run the football. I think they're going to struggle in this game. That's a been good side of the ball. I think they'll make some plays. And Sanders' comment, the Rams showing off their new toy and Von Miller. I could see him making some plays in the backfield. Obviously not the same guy. I know we talked about him, but not the same guy. But he's still a nice piece to have, especially in that pass rush. Still, Titans' offensive line's not great, so I think Tannehill is going to have some success down the field, hitting some big plays. But other than that, I just don't see how the Titans defense is not good enough to keep them in this game. I'll take the Rams 30-20.
We will go to my team on Sunday with the Raiders traveling to MetLife Stadium to face the Giants. Before we get to that game, we got to get to the Henry Ruggs situation. He made a terrible decision yesterday, and that's going to cost him his career. I mean, I think his career is over. I mean, he's facing now with the most recent news, driving 144, 54 miles an hour. He's with the recent news with Henry Ruggs. I mean, his career, 2 times over the legal limit. He's done. He could be facing 10 years in prison. I think he made a terrible decision. His career is over right now.
Absolutely. I just don't get why some of these guys don't get an Uber or a Lyft. You know, obviously they have the right to go out and drink. I get that, but like again, you don't drive. I don't know why you can't spend $30 for an Uber or Lyft driver. You know, I don't get it. I don't, because his best friend too died at 17 years old in a car accident. So you would think too, like he would, because that's why every time he scores a touchdown, he prays. So I would think too that he would have the common sense too to kind of know like this ain't a game driving a car, especially when you're drunk 2 times over the limit. I just don't understand it. In dinner time, I know he couldn't do anything, but he just sat there and watched the 20 feet. Yeah, he's
terrible. He deserves to be in jail for 10. He deserves to be in jail for 10 years. Terrible.
He does. And actually, it wasn't the child. I guess it was her dog. I think it was. I don't think there was a child. I think it was a dog. That was in the car. That was the story I read. Maybe it was a child, but I read that it was a dog. But anyways, yeah, I just he should be in jail for a while. I just don't get it. You know, he's starting to come in a groove too. You know, I get going out for a night, but I just, again, not to get an Uber Lyft in it, you know, and 2, he just bought it. It was a Corvette, brand new, souped up, and it's probably tough to control. No problem, Xander. His comment. I just don't understand what goes through. And I know when you're drinking, your mind's kind of not where it's supposed to be. But I don't know how you could kind of. And I know some of these athletes, I think that they're invincible and nothing's going to happen to them. But it doesn't always, that's not the case. And to go that fast, 154 is, again, I don't understand why you go that fast. And again, it's not safe at all. But then it looked like a side street. So I don't know what in the world he's thinking. I just don't understand it. Yeah, his career is over and he deserves to be in jail for the next decade or so.
Absolutely. Now getting to the game. I think this is a game. The thing is in this game, I don't even know who's going to play for the Giants. Shepard's going to be out. We know that. We don't know if Galladay and Barkley are going to play. We don't know if Tony's going to play. And this Raiders team, if the Giants can't get a running game going, they could have a very hard time with the Raiders because the Raiders get pressure on the quarterback. With Yannick Ngakoue, with Max Crosby. Max Crosby is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He's going to get pressure on Daniel Jones. I think he's going to force a turnover or two. And I do think Derek Carr is going to make more plays and less mistakes in this game. I think this is going to be a close, competitive game. But this season, these close competitive games, these are the kind of games the Raiders win, and these are the kind of games the Giants lose. And I think the same thing happens on Sunday. That's why I got the Raiders beating the Giants 24-20. But Justin, can the Giants defense continue to play well, and can Jones make enough plays for the Giants to get their third win of the season?
I think it's very possible. I do have the Raiders win this game 24-23. Again, the Raiders, I do worry about them. East Coast, they haven't been great. MetLife the last 2 years, they barely beat the Jets last year and then got thrown 2 years ago to the Jets out there. Sanders' comment, I could definitely see the Giants winning this game, especially if they get guys back. I could see it. If they have their weapons back, they have a couple guys, like a Shepard, a Galladay. If Tony's healthy, Barkley, I could totally see them winning this game. But I think the Giants do move the ball. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to – Jones is not going to have a ton of time. I think they're going to have to rely, again, a lot of quick passes. Could have some success running the football in this game. If you have Barkley or even Daniel Jones, I think can make some plays with his feet. Even Justin Fields did a few weeks ago when the Bears went in there and knocked off the Raiders. I just don't know how many more hits, because, again, the Gruden news a couple weeks on this, I just don't know how much more the Raiders can take. And I could see him coming out flat, losing this game. But for now, I will take the Raiders to win this game. I think Jones makes enough plays. I'm with you. I just don't know who plays in this game.
Yeah, and Xander, I saw your Rodgers out with COVID. We got that news. And, yeah, the Giants could very easily win this game. But the problem is they've just been losing these games. They've been losing these games for the last 5 years. And listen, the fact that there's all these – the fact that the Giants have been losing this much is why Dave Gettleman, if this continues, needs to be fired. It started in 2018 when, I don't know what he was looking at keeping Eli Manning. I don't know at all what he was looking at wanting to keep Eli Manning. He said he was an average film watcher in his press conference, and he lied about that because he kept Eli Manning as a quarterback. He decided to pass on taking Josh Allen and he took Saquon Barkley. Bad free agency moves that year, going out and getting, Alec Ogletree, trading for Alec Ogletree and Nate Soldier. Those moves have been disastrous. Then in that offseason too, he signs Odell Beckham and then trades him. And then that team has $16 million in dead money in 2019. That was a terrible move. When he came into the 2019 draft, yes, I didn't mind him taking Daniel Jones, but the problem was Eli Manning was still on the roster. He sent mixed signals to the fan base. Do you stick with Eli? Do we believe in Eli Manning, or do we not believe in Eli Manning? It sent mixed signals to the fan base. In that season, we either have a guy, the number 6 overall pick on the bench, or a guy making $20 million sitting on the bench. Now that was another move I didn't like from Dave Gettleman. And then later in that year, he extends Sterling Shepard, and he can't stay healthy. And then in 2021, he signs Kenny Galladay. He gives Kenny Galladay $18 million. We don't improve our offensive line, and then he drafts another wide receiver. So the losing the last 4 years, number one guy who's got to go is Dave Gettleman. There's no question about that. He is the number one guy that's got to be fired for the Giants if they continue to lose. And I think we might have lost. I think we might, and we got a comment.
Yeah,
Steve,
absolutely.
Giants need to take 3 or 4 years and build an offensive line like Dallas. But the problem is yeah. But and we got a comment from Xander. Yeah, but the problem is that the problem is there, Xander. Outside of Andrew Thomas, he's whiffed on the offensive line completely. That's the problem there. That's been the biggest problem there, and I think another issue has been Joe Judge. I mean, Joe Judge, Daniel Jones right now is number 3 in terms of issues with the Giants. I mean, he's clearly third between Judge and Dave Gettleman. Joe Judge has had a really rough year this year, challenging. It started out when he played Daniel Jones with a bad hamstring, challenging a scoring play when he should know as an NFL head coach that you can't challenge a scoring play. The jumped up, the poor discipline in the games against Washington, the games against Kansas City, not going for it on the 4th and 4 against Atlanta, keeping Daniel Jones in the game. Joe Judge very easily could be fired too with Dave Gettleman the way he's coached this year.
Absolutely. And I think, And let me ask you this, because it seems like everything the Giants do or hire, it always stems back.
Yeah, we might have lost Justin there too, but I feel like what his question is that everything the Giants do goes back to, it goes back to, where they've been before. Where, guys that they've been promoting from within. Like with Dave Gettleman, they promoted him from within. That's why I didn't like that hire. It's constant promoting from within. What the Giants need to do in this offseason, if they're not good, is they need to get rid of Gettleman, get an outside guy, and then maybe even get rid of Joe Judge too. I would keep Daniel Jones because this isn't a great quarterback class. But I think if this thing continues, Gettleman and Jones need to go. They need to wind up going. There's just no question about that. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on to the Patriots against the Panthers this week. We got a battle in Carolina between those two teams, and I think this is going to be a really good game between these two teams. I think this is going to be a competitive game between these two teams. But I do think that the difference in this game is going to be, I think that Belichick is going to force either Sam Darnold or PJ Walker to make mistakes, and Mac Jones is going to make less mistakes, and that's why I got the Patriots beating the Panthers 19-16 in Carolina this week. But Jace, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you feel like the Panthers defense can force enough mistakes for Mac Jones for them to pull an upset?
See, I mean, the Panthers, they're just – I love how Matt Rule's getting these young guys to play, especially defensively. I mean, it just has been really no McCaffrey, just been struggling offensively. And the Patriots, they've been trending upward. I think we got Justin back.
I think with Justin back. And we got to get him back to talk about his Patriots.
Yeah,
Justin, you back?
Yeah, what's up? Sorry about that.
Justin, no problem.
Yes, I'm back. Sorry
We're
about
talking
that.
about your Patriots. We're talking about your Patriots. Do you feel like Matt Rule could pull this upset against your team?
I think it's possible. I really do, because I think their defense is going to slow down Mac Jones again. I think they're going to pressure on it, because you could see last week that Chargers pass rush I gave him some happy feet last week. It really, for the first time, he was really inaccurate stuff.
Yeah, I think we might have lost Justin again there.
I felt like
but
forced him in.
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting what happens in this game. I mean, I think that the Patriots win it close, but we'll see if Sam Darnold plays. We'll see if Christian McCaffrey plays. We'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening there. But because we got Xander in the room right now, we got an NFC. We'll talk about the Cowboys. We got a matchup in Dallas between the Broncos and the Cowboys. And I think in this game, this is a Cowboys win. I think the Cowboys win this game big. I think Dak Prescott has a big game. I think they run the ball well. And I think as the Broncos getting rid of Von Miller, you're signaling that your season is over. And I know George Payton wants to get ahead of things. He might want to clear up cap space to go get Deshaun Watson next offseason and to go get or maybe go get Russell Wilson next offseason and put themselves in position to draft a quarterback. But eventually, but I think for this week, I think the Broncos are in a lot of trouble. I think the Cowboys win at 31-13. But Justin, can Denver's defense contain the Cowboys' offense to pull off a huge upset?
Without Von Miller, I think their defense is still good. It's not what it was with Von Miller. I think they can slow him down a bit. I have the Dallas Cowboys win this game 28-17.
Okay, Xander.
Yeah,
I got to talk to him. Cowboys will make a case for the best team in the NFC this week. No. You're not making a case for the best team in the NFC when you beat a team that just traded one of their best players. There's no way they're making a case for the best team in the NFC this week. I don't care how much they win this game. I'll still have them below the Buccaneers. I'll still have them below the Cardinals. I'll still have them below the Rams, and I'll still have them below the Packers. They are not making a case. This week does not change anything for the Cowboys. They just have to do their good job and win this football game and keep pace with those top teams in the NFC. That's what they have to do. And we might have lost Justin again, but yeah, talking about Xander's comment, it's the same. As you saw Xander's comment. Do you feel like anything will change with Dallas this week?
No,
I don't think so.
Dude. I commented earlier that they only have 3 games against above 500 teams coming up, and they benefited by struggling last year, that they have this low schedule. But while I do think they are a contender, that they are a Super Bowl contender, but when I won't truly have that faith in them to make that playoff push until it gets to the playoffs, until they can show that they can perform against these top teams, because they're not playing these top teams. And Denver, I mean, like you said, they just trade away their best player. I don't know how.
Oh, a hot Vikings team. Give me a break. They're a hot Vikings team. Come on now. Come on, dude. That Viking team lost to Danielle Hunter during the game. You have a quarterback that can't win in prime time. Yes, it's a good offense, but a below-average defense, and they got a coach that should be fired. So please, they're just a fact that I'll give them credit for the win against the Vikings in a tough environment, but the Vikings are an average to below-average team at best this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's wild. But, I mean, what else do you expect from Cowboys fans? They're so starved from being able to talk like this. So they're going
25 years
wild.
since they've been to an NFC Championship game, and now they want to and now they want to talk like this. And I heard this in 2007. I heard this in 2016. I heard this in 2014. And all those years they lost in the divisional round. And they want to reference, what's my excuse for the Bucs losing? The Bucs are the defending Super Bowl champions. They got a quarterback that's won 6 Super Bowls and has been to 9 Super Bowls and created the Patriot way in New England. So please, all right, they might be 5-2. They might have lost some tough games on the road, but please give me a break. The Bucs have proven it to me. The Cowboys haven't. In my lifetime, the Cowboys have never been great. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. So I can excuse them for losing games. Okay, I'm not giving the Cowboys excuses because they've never proven it to me. Have never proven it to me in my lifetime. Any of you guys on that comment?
I've seen the Cowboys win 2 playoff games in my lifetime. They think 2 or 3. Like that's it. Like I haven't. Again, I think the Cowboys are a good team. I think they have a chance to get to the Super Bowl, but I don't think Denver's not this week going to change my mind if they're the best team or not. In the NFC, again, they're going to have to change my mind probably in the playoffs. I know they still have Arizona left. Look, I know, with the soft schedule, I know that's all not their fault. Again, it's not their fault. The rest of the NFC East is pretty much rebuilding. It's not, I know they're playing a second or third place schedule, so I get it. They're not playing the elite teams. They're taking advantage of it, and they're going to help themselves out all the way. Some of their games have been tighter than I think they've wanted them to, too. Like, I need to see them blow out. I know they blew out the Eagles. They dominated mostly for the Panthers. They look pretty good there. But, like, can they beat the Broncos this week by double digits? Can they beat the Falcons next week by double digits? Like, can they go on the road and beat Kansas City? If they go on the road and beat Kansas City and they look like a better team, maybe I will add them up. I'll kind of put them up on the list. But I think that for the Cowboys, they're a good team. They have a chance to get the Super Bowl. I'm just not – I need to see them win some games in January. I just haven't seen it from them. And that's kind of why, for me, I'm still a little bullish on them right now. I got to see them win in January right now because, look, they can be the 1 seed. I was saying, I don't know if I don't think you were here for the first time we were talking about them, Xander, but I think they can go 15-2 in the schedule. I think they can go 15-2.
All right, and I'll address this comment. It's funny how people talk about the week schedule, and at the beginning of the season, people didn't have us coming into the division. I'll admit I was wrong about you guys going into the season. Your defense has been much better than I expected it to be. Micah Parsons has been a slam dunk. Trayvon Diggs has played really well. Randy Gregory has and this is not a good comment. You believe in the Bills with what have they done? No, they have not done nothing. The Bills got to somewhere last year where you haven't been in 25 years. So to say the Bills have done nothing is not true. They went somewhere last year where you have not been in 25 years. So that's not accurate to say the Bills have done nothing. The Bills got to a conference championship game last year. Got to a conference title game last year. You haven't. But to piggyback on your last point, yes, I'll admit I was wrong. The defense was much better than I expected them to be. Tyron Smith has played much better than I've expected him to be. So yes, I was wrong about the Cowboys this year. I will admit that. But I just still to put them on top, I just got to see more. I just got to see more from the Cowboys right now. And since Jerry Jones has been the GM, They just have never been a great team. They've never been a joke. I addressed them as Jared. They've never been a joke. They just have never been a great elite team since Jerry Jones has been that GM. We've seen it so many times before in 2007, 2014, and 2016. And in 2007 and 2016, they've had those number one seed, and they haven't got it. And they didn't get it done those 2 years. So I'm not discrediting the Cowboys for what they've done so far. I just got to see more to say they're the best team in the NFC or in the NFL.
Yeah, no, I do too. I need to see them. Yeah, like Jason comment, the Bills shut out teams. Like they won 35-0. Like I need them to win some convincing games here the next couple weeks before they go to Kansas City and Vegas comes in. What more will you see? His comment. Well, yeah, what more will you see when we go back to the schedule? Yeah, they still have Arizona. I think that's at home.
Arizona. If they play well in New Orleans, I think that would be good. If they play well in Kansas City, I know Kansas City's not as good as they've been, but that would be good. If they could, sweep the NFC, if they could completely sweep the NFC East, even though the NFC East isn't that good, then I've seen more. Yeah, but listen, the Bills shut out the Dolphins. Yes, but the Bills have shown me more over that program has been building to this stage with being a top team. In 2019 with Josh Allen, they got to the playoffs last year, NFC Championship game. They've been building to this moment, so that I just trust the Bills more. That's just the way I'm looking at it right now. But enough with the Cowboy talk. We've gone way too far with the Cowboy. I appreciate the comments from Xander and Jared. We've gone way too much with the Cowboy talk. We got to get to our best bets. And this week, my best bets, I got the Bengals to 2.5. I'm feeling not as good about that pick now that the OBJ is not playing. I think the Browns have a little bit of a better chance of winning that game, but I still am going with the Bengals minus 2.5. Cardinals even against 49ers even against the Cardinals. I just think in this spot NFC West is too good. No offense against the Cardinals, but I don't think Kyler Murray is 100%. And I do think that the 49ers are a team that could very easily get that number 7 seed. So I do think that this is a game. They were close the last time. I think this is a game they could win. And then I had to take because my Packers bet, I had the Packers as one of them. So I'm going to take the Dolphins minus 6.5 over the Texans. The Texans are the worst team we've seen since the Browns in 2017.
You think they're worse than the Lions this year, Texans team?
I said since. I think they're worse than the Lions this year. Yes, they're definitely worse than the Lions. The Lions were close to winning a couple of games. They were close to winning against the Ravens, and they were close to winning against the Vikings. So the Lions have been close in some games, and they have a much better. And I know I think Jared Goff's good, but they have a much better quarterback than the Texans have right now.
They do until they have Taylor back, and I'd probably take Tyrod Taylor. Well, yeah, probably. Even though I know Goff got a Super Bowl, but my best bets this week, I got Baltimore over 5.5 against Minnesota. Again, the game plan Minnesota came up last week against for Mike Zimmer, which is awful. John Harbaugh coming off a bye. He's 10-3 in buys. I know they lost last year. They lost to Pittsburgh last year off of the bye. But I'll take John Harbaugh to come out with a good game plan. Slow down Kirk Cousins and this Vikings offense enough. I think they run the ball on them. They'll make some plays with Lamar Jackson. I'll take the Ravens 5.5 at home. Then I'm going to take the Eagles at plus 1.5 at home against the Chargers. I think the Eagles win this game because the Chargers do not really stop the run at all. I think Jalen Hurts, Jordan Howard, Kenneth Gainwell, I think they run all over the Chargers. And the one thing we've really seen Justin Herbert's kryptonite so far is that he struggles under pressure. And I think the Eagles do a very nice job of getting pressure on the quarterback. And I'm going to take the Eagles to win that game 27-24 at home against the LA Chargers. And then my final one, I did have Green Bay as well. But kind of took that. I saw Green Bay win the game. I'm not very confident on it now. But I think the first time we've picked the same game here, Bengals, Browns. I feel good about this one because I think the Bengals are a good team. And I think they bounce back this week. I think their defense gets pressure on Baker Mayfield. I just, I don't really know what I'm going to get from the Browns. You look at I think I mentioned we were talking about them, but again, against the best teams right now, that they've played, the best offenses, they gave up 33 to the Chiefs. They did hold the Vikings to 7, but they gave up 47 to the Chargers. They gave up 37 to Arizona. I think the Bengals could put up some points this week on the Browns defense. The Browns defense is good, but they haven't been elite against the best competition. And I think Joe Burrow is going to make some plays this week. I'll take the Bengals at 2.5 at home against Cleveland.
Yeah, now we'll talk about that game, Browns and Bengals. And we've talked a lot about the Odell Beckham situation. I think the Browns are better off without him at this point. But I do think because Baker Mayfield's not healthy in this game, I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. I do think the Bengals contain the running game. I think it's been a big difference with the Bengals this year. Being able to get pressure on the quarterback. Logan Wilson with Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, and they've been able to stop the run with Logan Wilson. Done a really good job stopping the run. I think they contain the run game. I think it's a close, competitive game. But I'm going to go with the team with the better quarterback to go to 6-3. I'm not a huge Zach Taylor fan, but I like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I like this roster right now in Cincinnati. I like this quarterback. I got them going to 6-3, beating the Browns 23-16. But Justin, can the Browns D and their running game carry them to their 6th win in 7 games against the Bengals?
I think their defense is definitely good enough. As I mentioned, I think they have one of the better defense, especially up front with Garrett and Javion Clowney up front. I have the Bengals though winning this game 23-17. The Bengals, Baker's, Burrow, I think is going to have to, he's going to be under pressure a lot. I think he's going to have to make some plays through the air. I don't think he's going to have a ton of time in this game to make plays. But again, I think Garrett Clowney probably have a sack or two in this game. I think they will get to him. But I think Burrow, in the back end, I think Jamar Chase makes some big plays. T. Higgins had a couple big plays last week. I think they spread the ball around. And I think the Bengals offense does enough. And the Bengals defense has been good. They were not great last week. They did force 3 turnovers, but I think they bounce back. They play well. They keep their team in the game. And everything going on in Cleveland, I'm going to take the Bengals. I'm not too high on them yet, but after last week was very disappointing by them. But I guess we shouldn't have seen it coming. I'll take the I do think the Bengals do enough. I think Joe Burrow plays well enough in this game to get the win 23-16. 23-17. My bad.
We got an AFC matchup Thursday night as the Jets face the Colts, and everybody's saying, "Oh, Mike White's gonna have another big game?" No, he's not. I feel like this Colts defense is going to play really well. I think they're going to get pressure on Mike White, force a turnover. I think the Colts are going to play mistake-free in this game, run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. I think he goes for over 100 yards. And I got the Colts going to 4-5, beating the Jets 27-10. But Justin, can Mike White stay hot, and can the Jets win their 2nd straight?
I don't think so. I got the Colts 27-14. Yeah, Mike White played a really, came off, played well, threw for over 400 yards. The Jets turned the ball over 3 times in that game. I think they're going to have another couple turnovers in this game. They've gotten the running game going too, but the Colts are seeing, the Colts, they're ranked 15th, but I think they do a good job stopping the run. They make Mike White one-dimensional. And I think he shows into good defense on a short week. They seem to open up the offense a lot more for Mike White, which kind of gives you, they don't have much confidence yet in Zach Wilson, but I'm going to take the Colts 27-14. I think Carson Wentz plays a lot better too this week. Again, after 1 week, I'm not going to overreact to Mike White. Biggest win in Bengals history in like 20 years. So that was a big letdown spot for him last week.
We got the Vikings heading to Baltimore to face the Ravens, and I feel like the Ravens offense is going to be able to run the ball against this Vikings defense. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a big game, and he's going to throw a couple touchdown passes. I think the loss of Danielle Hunter is really going to hurt this Vikings defense like it did on Sunday night against the Cowboys. And I do think the Vikings, Justin Jefferson has a big game because the Ravens like to play a lot of man coverage. You saw Jamar Chase completely roast Merlin Humphrey a couple weeks ago. I think the Vikings move the ball. The problem is I feel like Kirk Cousins is going to make a mistake. And I think the Ravens are going to get some pressure on Kirk Cousins, get a couple sacks, and that's why I got the Ravens winning it by double digits. I got the Ravens over the Vikings, 31-20. But Justin, this was your best bet, plus 5.5. Why do you like the Ravens so much against the Vikings?
Well, I like to have this coaching matchup, Harbaugh versus Zimmer. I think they come out with a good game plan this week. 10-3 off of bye Harbaugh is, so I think they come out again. That's a sour taste in your mouth the way they lost the Bengals too. 41-17, the players have been kind of sitting on that for 2 weeks. So I think they come out motivated, fired up, ready to go. I think, Minnesota does move the ball. They're going to have some success through the air, but I think Lamar Jackson, that running game, they're going to keep time of possession. I think it's going to be huge for the Ravens. And I don't think Minnesota's going to have enough chances in this game to keep up. So I'm going to take the Ravens 27-20 over the Vikings Sunday.
We got an NFC South matchup in New Orleans as the Falcons travel to New Orleans to face the Saints. And the Saints probably going to have Trevor Siemian starting, but I just don't think it's going to matter because I think the Saints defense is going to control this game. They're going to get pressure on Matt Ryan. They're going to shut down the run game. They're going to force Matt Ryan to make a mistake. And I think Trevor Siemian is going to do enough to manage this game. I think Camaro will get enough yards on the ground against this Falcons defense. I think Siemian does enough to manage this game to get the Saints to 6-2. I got the Saints winning 24-17 over the Falcons. But Justin, can Matt Ryan bounce back from last week and help the Falcons pull the upset?
I don't think they will. I got the Saints 21-13. The Falcons were abysmal last week in offense. Again, I know losing Ridley a half hour for the game kind of announcing hopefully he gets the help he needs as he steps away from pro football right now. He's trying to get the help he needs right now for his mental health. But again, I think now with no Ridley, I think as long as you kind of keep Kyle Pitts under wraps, I think you have a pretty good chance to beat this Falcons team. They're not great running the football. The Saints are great at stopping the run. I think they do make enough plays. I think, the way the Falcons, I don't think they're going to have a lot of chances because the way the Saints are going to run the football against the Falcons, I don't think Matt Ryan has a lot of opportunities to keep his team in the game. I think he makes a couple turnovers. Saints did a really good job of that last week. I think they get some pressure on him, even though the Falcons' offensive line's been good. I can see Matt Ryan make a couple plays in this game, but I really like the Saints right now. I'll take them to win 21-13.
We have an AFC matchup in Miami. We're going to go quickly here as the Texans travel down to Miami to face the Dolphins, and this was my best bet. It's weird when I pick a 1-17 to cover, but I think the Dolphins are a little bit better than 1-7. And I got them beating the Texans 27-9. As I've explained in the show, the Texans are absolutely terrible. One of the worst teams we've seen since the Browns in 2017. Justin, I assume you got the same.
Yeah, I got the Titans even close 20-17. I think maybe Taylor plays this thing. It's a little bit closer, or they could even win. I let the Dolphins play tough last week at Buffalo. Now they're saying they're very confident. The GM and staff saying they're very confident Tua, even though because you couldn't get Watson. So who knows? Poor Tua. I think they do find a way to pull out this game 2017.
We got an AFC matchup down in Jacksonville as the Bills take on the Jaguars. This is going to be a blowout. I think the Jaguars are absolutely terrible. They're down there with the Lions and the Texans. Buffalo wins this game big. They do whatever they want in this game. Josh Allen throws a couple touchdown passes. The Bills defense gets pressure on Lawrence. I got the Bills winning 34-10, and I assume you got the same, Justin.
Yeah, Buffalo 31-13. I think Buffalo plays a lot better than they did last week. Big game. I don't see how they slow down Josh Allen in this offense. I think they get pressure on Trevor Lawrence, and another long day for Jacksonville because last week Geno Smith kind of did whatever he wanted against that offense. Now against the defense. Now you got to face Josh Allen. So it's gonna be a long day in Jacksonville Sunday.
It definitely will. And we talked about the first 4 o'clock game, the Chiefs and the Packers, but we'll go to the other 4 o'clock games. We got an NFC West matchup in Santa Clara as the Cardinals face the Niners. And I think this is Jimmy Garoppolo is going to keep. This is one of my best bets. I got the Niners winning this game. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to keep Trey Lance off the field. I think he's going to have another good game. I think the Niners are going to have success on the ground like the Packers did last week with Elijah Mitchell was a big game on the ground. I think they moved the ball. I think Kyler Murray's a little banged up. He might turn the ball over once. I think he has a decent game, but not a great game. And I got the 49ers winning this game 27-21 over the Cardinals. But the question is, can Kyler Murray bounce back to get the Cardinals back on track?
I think they do. I got the Cardinals 24-20 going the road game to win. The Niners have actually lost 7 straight home games, which is very surprising. I guess they're due for one. But if he plays, I think they do spread the ball around. And I think that running game kind of gets going again with Drake and Connor. I think Hopkins makes a couple big plays. Again, like how is Kyle Murray's mobility in this game if he's kind of more of a pocket passer? And if Niners are able to get pressure on him and, Bosa and, some of those guys get some sacks on him, I could totally see the Niners win this game. But I think I'm planning on him being healthy enough in this game to make some plays as well as his legs. And Arizona finding a way to win this game 24-20.
We got an interconference matchup in Philadelphia as the Chargers travel all the way out to Philly to face the Eagles. I think this is going to be a competitive game. I think the Eagles found a little bit of an identity. I know they played the Lions, but they found a little bit of identity last week running the football. I think they have success doing it this week, but I do think the Chargers do the same thing with Austin Eckler. I think he runs the ball, has a good game running the ball against the Eagles. I think Justin Herbert bounces back from his bad performance last week against the Patriots. I think he throws a couple touchdown passes. I think the difference in this game is the Eagles kick field goals, the Chargers get touchdowns. And in a close competitive game, I got the Chargers going to 5-3, beating the Eagles 27-23. But Justin, you got the Eagles covering this game as one of your best bets. Why do you have that?
Yeah, I have them because, as I mentioned, telling the best bet segment. I think, you saw last week, Herbert under pressure again struggled. The Eagles do that. The Eagles can get pressure on you, and I think they will have success with that. And the Chargers can't stop the run game, and they don't really even try to stop the run game. So I think Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, Jordan Howard have big games on the ground. And even Jalen Hurts, I think, with some read option stuff and some design quarterback runs, I think he has a big game on the ground. I think they keep Justin Herbert in that offense off the field long enough. I think they have a big day on the ground. And I'm going to take the Eagles at home 27-24. I'm not big on the coaching staff, but the Eagles new coach staff, but I think they're smart enough to figure out to run the ball in this game, and they'll do it.
Before we wrap up, we'll talk about the Monday night game as the Bears travel to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers. And Justin Fields played well last week, but I think it's going to be a tough game on Monday night for him against the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to get pressure on him. I think the difference last week is the Bears were able to run the ball. I think that's why Fields was able to have a little bit more success. I think they're going to really struggle to run the ball against the Steelers defense. I think that Fields is going to turn the ball over once. I think the Steelers will get the ground game going with Najee Harris. The Bears have had trouble stopping the run this year. I think Big Ben will manage the game. I think Big Ben will be the quarterback that makes less mistakes in this game. And that's why I got the Steelers going to 5-3, beating the Bears 23-17. But the question is, can Justin Fields have another good game to help the Bears pull the upset?
I don't think so. I get the Steelers 16-6. I just don't see how the Bears scored many points in this game, especially if the Steelers don't turn it over and don't give them a short field. I just can't see the Bears score many points. I think Justin Fields going to get sacked like 6-7 times in this game. I don't see how this offensive line controls Steelers defensive line. Like, I think it could be something where they played the Browns where he was sacked like 7-8 times. I could see a game like that, and where you're just, as a Bears fan, praying he gets out of this game healthy. I got the Steelers winning this game 16-6. I think the Bears have less than like 200 yards of offense. I don't think they'll have any success moving the ball in this game.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for Week 9 of the NFL. It's going to be an interesting week, but we have a world champion in Major League Baseball. But we'll talk about that. But before we talk about that, we got a promo from Clovercrest Media.
It's been a pretty wet summer in Connecticut, and that means more mosquitoes than ever. If you didn't have your home serviced for mosquito control and find you're spending most of your time outside flooding those little pests, you are in luck. Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut provides the best value in mosquito control services because of how they treat your yard using the Mosquito Shield tailored treatment system. They don't use a fixed schedule or an identical product one-size-fits-all service program because you can't control mosquitoes on a set number of sprays or visits. Unlike the competition, Mosquito Shield of Central Connecticut will service you for the season, whatever it takes to provide superior results. This promise has awarded them an industry-leading consumer retention rating of 90%. Visit MosquitoShieldCT.com to schedule an appointment with Wade DeCesare and enjoy the rest of your summer mosquito-free.
That is Mosquito Shield. Make sure you sign up and tell them Sports Talk with R&J sent you, and you'll get a discount. So make sure you sign up for Mosquito Shield. But for the first time since 1995, the Atlanta Braves won the World Series as they beat the Houston Astros 4-2. And give them credit, they beat the Astros in every facet of the games. Offensively, they definitely out-hit the Astros in this series. Jorge Soler was outstanding. He definitely deserved to be the MVP because he set the tone. Right off the bat, he hits that home run in game 1. And then in game 4, with the game tied 2-2 in the 7th, he hits a home run. And then last night, he sets the tone. It's a 3-run homer. He definitely deserved to be the MVP. Also, Dansby Swanson had a really big series. He had that home run in game 4. Hit that home run last night too to put the Braves up 5-0. Pretty much put the game away. Austin Riley had a big series too. He had that hit in game 3. Freddie Freeman had a home run last night. He had a good series too. He hit Riley and Freeman hit over 300. And then the starting pitching. Ian Anderson didn't give up a hit in game 3. As we said, we thought, when Charlie Morton got hurt, the Astros had the advantage. with their starting pitching, but I was wrong about that. Ian Anderson pitched really well, and last night Max Fried pitched a great game. He pitched set. Both did not give up an earned run. Ian Anderson didn't give up a hit. So their starting pitching was good. And their bullpen, when their bullpen needed to be good, it was outstanding. In game 4 with the opener, their bullpen was outstanding in game 4. And then in game 3, it was great too. After Ian Anderson pitched 5 innings, their bullpen completely shut down the Astros. So they beat the Astros in every phase of the game, and they deserve to be World Series champs.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Hector Simon. Beat him. The Braves beat him with the long ball. I forget how many home runs they had, but I think 75% of the runs were like from the home run ball. For the Braves, it was something like that. Like the Braves got it done with the home run ball. Yeah, LOL. They can. Now they have not been able to do that since. Not been able to. But yeah, like the Braves, it's for the team too that going the All-Star break, they're 55 and 50 or 44 and 45. They're not over 500 till August 6th, and they're 7-1 at home in the postseason. It was a team an organization that kind of bought in. But you mentioned a few times, Steve, the last few weeks when we were talking about the Braves. Their mid-season trade accusations. With all the guys that they had hurt, with the ball coming in, Jorge Soler, Jack Peterson coming. I know he didn't have a great series, but he did hit a couple big home runs. Coming off the bench, Eddie Rosario, he didn't have a great series. He had a great NLCS and NLDS, but guys kind of stepped up around him in the World Series. But yeah, they'll kind of lose the pitchers like they did in Max Fried game 2. He really struggled, and even game 5 of the NLCS struggled. He comes out yesterday and he was unbelievable. 6 shutout innings for him last night. 6 Ks. Only gave up 4 hits to that great Astros offense. He was unbelievable last night, and they really needed him to step up, and he did. It just shows that, again, I hope more teams now kind of see when they're in third place, kind of towards the trade deadline, that they make a couple moves like this and try to get their team back into the World Series. And they try to make a run here in the postseason. That'll make baseball even better. But, yeah, congrats to Braves. They've been the postseason 16 times since 95, and they finally got it done. They finally won one. So my pick before the beginning of the year, and I didn't feel good about it after Acuna got hurt, and I thought Mike Soroka was going to pitch a little bit this year. So for what the Braves have done and what they battled through, great resilience by this team. I'm happy for Freddie Freeman and Alex Andopoulos too. The GM here finally get it, especially for Freeman, because he's a guy that goes, I think, very underrated in baseball. He's one of the best hitters in the sport, and he deserves a ring along with the rest of that team.
Earth to high and bloom. This is what you do at the trade deadline. This is why you improve your team. This team was 44 and 45. They could have easily been sellers at the trade deadline, but the NL East wasn't great this year, and they made moves. They addressed their needs. Unlike the Red Sox, it didn't address their bullpen or their rotation. They addressed their needs. They went after, Jorge. They went out and got Jock Peterson right after Acuna got hurt. Then they went out and got Eddie Rosario and Jorge Soler and Adam Duvall. Duvall carried them through the second half of the season, and then the 2 MVPs of both their series. Eddie Rosario, MVP of the NLCS, Jorge Soler, MVP of the World Series. This is why the Braves are a top-tier organization and the Red Sox are second tier with the Yankees, because this team improved at the trade deadline. That's why the trade deadline is the most impactful in baseball, because you can improve your team. The Atlanta Braves proved that. They lost a player like Ronald Acuna, and they brought in three or four outfielders to replace him and Marcell Ozuna, who they lost earlier in the season too. This is why you improve your team at the trade deadline. Outstanding job by Alex Andopoulos to improve this team. And this is why this Braves team is going to be very, very good for years to come with having this general manager, because he improved this team at the trade deadline and he did an outstanding job.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, he did. And, now they got to re-sign Freddie Freeman now. Hopefully they do that. I assume they'll come to some agreement. But, yeah, you're going to have Soroka back next year. They signed Charlie Morton back, too, for next year, so they're going to have him back in the rotation. Ian Anderson and Max Fried are still really young pitchers, too. So, yeah, this Braves team's going to be a tough out. I believe, like, Soler, even Duvall, Peterson, like, all those guys are free agent. I would assume Ozuna's gone. I would assume he deserves to be gone for he'll never probably play in another major league game. So they'll probably, I would assume, they'll try to bring back Soler and Peterson and Rosario, because I think all 4 of those guys are free agents now. Or no, Rosario actually may have one more year of arbitration because the Twins got rid of him. So he may still be arbitration eligible. Because if that's the case, 5th year, so he'll be back. Getting arbitration. So having him back because he's big postseason. So yeah, the Braves should be able to be in a nice spot because that Reds division, who knows what's going on with the Mets right now? They can't find anybody right now. The Phillies are mediocre. Nationals, I think, are gonna be better, and then the Marlins, we'll see. It sounds like they want to spend it in the offseason, but we'll see. So yeah, the Braves should be one of the contenders, and it should be right up there. And the team that and Acuna Jr. should be healthy in the spring, so he should be ready to go. So yeah, I think this Braves team's definitely next year, definitely one of the favorites going until next April right now.
Absolutely. And now we got to go what went wrong for the Astros. And Hector made a decent point there. They can't win without cheating. And they got to the World Series, but they didn't. And their offense, I think the offense was not great in the series. I mean, they had some games where they scored 9 runs and they scored 7 runs, but Altuve didn't have that good of a series. Brantley had definitely had the best series of any of them. Correa was okay. Alvarez was absolutely terrible. Gurriel was okay. Bregman was pathetic. That's why they moved him down the lineup. Their lineup, looking at this series going into it, you thought maybe the Braves had the better rotation, but the Astros had the bullpen in the lineup. But the lineup was not as good as the Braves, and that was proven. The Braves out hit them, and then the bullpen. They had a 2-1 lead they had a 2-1 lead in game 4. And game 4, I think, was the game where the series was lost for the Astros because they couldn't hold on to that lead, and they eventually ended up losing that series. And their bullpen gave up game 4, and then their starting pitching, which was really an issue in the Boston series too. I mean, the start, Framber Valdez was absolutely terrible in this series. Your Urquidy probably had the best start when he went 5 innings. Greinke wasn't great. Garcia wasn't great. And I think Garcia, who pitched last night, he wasn't great last night. Wasn't great last night either. Their starting pitching was not as good as the Braves. The Braves completely outpitched them. So they were just completely outplayed. They probably were the better team. But the funny thing about baseball is, in these 6 games, they were outplayed by the Braves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, they were. And Hector's comments, they have to win at home, 3-9 all-time Minute Maid Park in the World Series. Yeah, they that's crazy to think about because
and our man Hector Velasquez. Our man Hector Velasquez coming up with those stats, and he's completely right. And I don't use 2005. I'll throw 2005 out of there because that was a different team. But 2017, they were better in 2017. They went 2-1. But the real stat is they've been 1-6. 1-6 the last 1-6 the last 6 out of their last 7 World Series games they've lost at home. That's the biggest reason why they lost these last two World Series is they could not win at home. And I wouldn't have imagined this when they beat the Yankees 4 times in 2017. But we know why that probably happened. We kind of know. We don't need to get into that. We know why that probably happened.
Yeah, well, we do. And in 19, actually, I remember listening to the Nationals pitching coach. They changed all their signals, too, on the Astros in 19 because they knew something was up. So when they went to the Minute Maid Park, they changed all their signs. So that's probably why they couldn't win at home because their technology, whatever they were doing, their trash cannon or whatever, weren't working because, they changed up all the signals on them every game. So and that's probably one of the problems they couldn't win at 19 at home. But yeah, and I think, they had a lot of young guys in that rotation, as you mentioned, that struggled. They really hurt, I know they had Greinke, but he's not the same guy. It really hurt that they lost McCullers because that's kind of the shutdown guy that's kind of been there before. I think
that was really huge. That was a huge loss. And we debated last week with the loss of Morton or McCullers hurt. It definitely was the loss of McCullers because McCullers would have pitched game 1. And say he pitches really well in game 1, there's a very good chance the Astros are up 2-0 going to Atlanta. And then, then they win a game in Atlanta. So they were up 3-2. And then Atlanta's facing elimination. The McCullers lost. In the Boston series, I thought it might hurt, but it ended up hurting because Valdez pitched really, really well in Game 5, and the Astros ended up winning Game 6. So that loss didn't really hurt them in the Boston series, but in this series, it completely hurt them. That I think was one of the biggest reasons they didn't win that series. They didn't have Lance McCullers.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, because they were able to get through it. After the second start, Valdez had pitched really well in the Boston series, and I believe it was Urquidy. It was either Urquidy or Garcia that pitched really well in Game 6 that night. To seal in the win. But yeah, like it was kind of inconsistency with those three guys, and yeah, I completely agree. McCullers was just it was with the bigger loss. They just didn't really have that shutdown guy because Fried's kind of a guy that can be an ace, and they're so banged up in rotation, and Fried kind of struggled up to that point. His last two starts, but yeah, it was great last night. Like he was able to kind of be the shutdown guy, and yeah, the lineup, like game 5, like Martin Maldonado really stepped up for them. Like they didn't really have the other guys really step up around. Most of those guys really did struggle. Besides really Brantley, like Jordan Alvarez only had like 3 or 4 hits in the entire series. He was really shut down the entire time. So yeah, this whole kind of lineup really just it was not as big an impact as we thought. And the Braves pitched so well, and I figured all the bullpen arms there have to pitch in the series that the Astros, after a while, we're going to kind of catch on to them and then kind of hit them hard. But they never really did. Besides really Game 5, it's really the only offensive onslaught they had in the series.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we wrap up, one final question. It's about the 2 free agents. Which free agent do you think it's more likely? I think it's pretty obvious. Which free agent's more likely to sign with this team? I definitely think it's Freddie Freeman. He's older. The team has won the World Series, so I think there's more of an urgency to come back and win another one. I think he's more likely to take a hometown discount. I think Correa is going to want 36, like 40 to 35 to 40 million. He's going to go to whatever team pays him because I think he's going to be mad that they lost the World Series, and he's younger, so he's going to want to cash in and get his money. So I think it's pretty obvious that Freddie Freeman is more likely to sign with his team than Carlos Correa is with his.
Oh, absolutely. I think Freddie Freeman, yeah, I think they're going to figure out there's no way that they're not going to figure out a deal for Freddie Freeman. He just made the play in Atlanta. Like you could just see like he's beloved in that city. There's no question about it. I do think he'll probably take a hometown discount because he's getting out. He's 32.
32.
So
32.
Yeah, 32. So yeah, like a 4 or 5 year deal. I could see probably happening there. I think they'll find a way to keep him. There's no way the Atlanta Braves are going to let him lose, especially now that they just won a World Series. That fan base will go ballistic because he's so beloved in that city. You can tell he loves playing with the Braves. So, yeah, I think Freddie Freeman is the more likely one that's going to get done here.
All righty, we'll see what happens in the offseason. It should be very interesting. But the rankings are out. The first CFP rankings are out in college football. But before we talk about them, we got a promo from Clovercrest Media.
The college football season is coming back, and we got you covered on every game. We're breaking it down on each snap all season long. Catch us every week starting on August 4th. Joe Aguirre, Sean Scanlon, Jace Garcia, and yours truly, Obi Muniz, giving you the highlights, predictions, and current rankings. Visit our website at hhwshow.com and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's All Four Downs, part of the CMG Sports Podcast Network.
So the rankings are out. The first official college football rankings are out, and we'll go over the top 4 first. Georgia being number 1, that's obvious. Alabama, I'm not surprised there at number 2. 3 and 4 surprised me. Michigan State surprised me. I thought they'd be in the top 6, but Michigan State surprised me. I mean, yes, they did have that huge win over Michigan, but they definitely surprised me being 3. And the team that definitely surprised me was Oregon being 4. I don't think they should be 4. This team lost to Stanford. I think they should at minimum be 6 or I think they should be. I would say at least at minimum. I think they should be number 6. I think they should be 6. I know they only have 1 loss and they beat Ohio State. But now the committee wants to say head-to-head matters after in 2016 when Penn State beat Ohio State, they didn't put them in. So now it matters. So I did not agree with 3 and 4. What I thought coming into the night was I thought Georgia was going to be 1, Alabama 2, Ohio State 3, and Oklahoma 4. And we'll get to Oklahoma. That's totally disrespectful. I don't know what the committee's watching with Oklahoma. But Justin, what's your reaction to the top 4?
Give me back. My reaction top 4. Yeah, Georgia obviously number 1. Bama. I'm not surprised. I didn't think they should be ranked number 2, but I'm not surprised Michigan State number 3. My explanation for this is the committee wants Michigan State to run the table and kind of say, see, we told you that Michigan State's is good, or if they kind of lose a game or two, oh well, we'll throw it back. I think Oregon number 4. They should have never lost to Stanford. It was a terrible PI call. They should have won the game outright. And then Joe Moorhead wasn't there. They lost their top running back. They haven't been playing great, but I'm okay. I'm okay with it. And I know head-to-head really mattered in this one, but they change their rules every year. 14, I think it was Alabama. They got in because of game control, whatever it was. Some years it's the eye test. I'm okay with it. I don't think Bama should be that high because the last time we saw Alabama, they were up by 7 with 10 minutes left in Tennessee. And their defense is not very good. Yeah, they're blowing teams out, but I worry about their defense. So I guess I'm not totally shocked to see Alabama 2, but it's we're kind of handing them win to a 3-loss Mississippi State team that's sitting there at 17, which is ridiculous. But again, that's what it is. It's SEC bias. So it is what it is.
Yeah, you could say that, but I just feel like right now, out of all these teams, I still think Alabama's the second best team in the country. I know there isn't a year where there's a dominant team, and I do feel like Alabama's the second best team in the country. But going over the rest of the rankings and outside below 15, it doesn't even matter because that's irrelevant. None of those teams are gonna make the playoffs, and even at 15, BYU has no chance. You really right now have 14 teams fighting for 4 spots. Really, 14 teams, and that's being generous. That's being generous to Baylor, Oklahoma State. If one of those two somehow wins the Big 12, that's being even generous to Texas A&M because Texas A&M I still feel like has an outside shot at making it because if they beat Auburn and say Auburn, A&M, and Alabama in a 3-way tie, they would get to the SEC championship game. But this is a long shot because they still got to beat Ole Miss and Auburn this week. So that's really that's a real long shot. But if somehow that happens, they would play Georgia in the SEC title game. But looking at these rankings. I would say my top 4 would have been Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oklahoma at number 4. I think Oklahoma at number 8 is absolutely ridiculous. This committee has not watched this team with Caleb Williams. This team has been a different team with Caleb Williams, and they should be judged on the way Caleb Williams is playing. I think that's total disrespect with the fact Oklahoma's number 8. So I would have had Oklahoma top 4. I would have number 5. Number 5, I would have I'd have Michigan State. Number 5, I would have Michigan State. Number 6. I would have Oregon. Then I would have Cincinnati. I'd have them at number 7. I'm sorry, they just haven't impressed me the last 2 weeks. They haven't played a good schedule. They haven't impressed me the last 2 weeks. I know they beat Notre Dame, and I don't think Notre Dame's great either this year. I think they're top 10, but I don't think they're great either this year. Number 8, I would have Michigan. Number 9, I would have Wake Forest. They're undefeated. And then number 10, this is going to surprise you. I would have Auburn because Auburn, if you look at their losses. One of their losses was to Georgia, but their other loss was to Penn State when Sean Clifford was healthy in Happy Valley. That's a tough game, and you got to give them credit for scheduling that game. So that's why I would have Auburn in the top 10. I know it's probably a surprise you, but I'd have Auburn in the top 10. I'd have Notre Dame at 11. I'd have Oklahoma State 12, Baylor 13, and Texas A&M at 14. That's what I think of the rankings. Justin, your thoughts on the rest of the rankings?
Mine coming in, for me, before I get to my top 14 here, I know Cincinnati's ranked there at 6. Okay, I know they haven't played great the last 2 weeks. I know we had a discussion about this last night, but I don't think they're getting any they're purposely, I feel like, trying to keep Cincinnati out as much as possible because how are SMU and Houston not, or at least Houston? How is Houston? They're 6-1. They just beat SMU at home on a Saturday night. They are really trying to keep.
I think they should be ranked ahead of Wisconsin, who has 3 losses.
Yes. Minnesota lost to Bowling Green. Have you seen Minnesota's schedule?
Minnesota's a joke. Iowa would have 3 losses if Sean Clifford was healthy.
Yeah.
And Iowa lost convincingly in both those games. And both their loss to Purdue and Wisconsin, they lost convincingly, and their offense did nothing.
Yeah. No, they haven't the last 2 weeks. It's ridiculous. Minnesota's best win right now is. It's probably either Nebraska or Maryland. That's Minnesota's best win, and they're in 20th. Come on now. It's ridiculous. But Houston and SMU are ranked. Yeah, Iowa too. Iowa has no absolute offensive identity. It's ridiculous that they're still sitting there. Even Mississippi State at 17. They lost to Memphis. Yeah, they won on the road, but they lost to Memphis. losses to the committee, as long as you lose close, do not matter. It doesn't matter. And, so – which I think is ridiculous.
But they're inconsistent because Ohio State's lost to Oregon matters. So that's the inconsistency of this committee.
Yeah, because the head-to-head. But, yeah, the head-to-head. And I know, but, Ohio State, too, kind of – when they've looked a lot better since then. I will say that they have. Because Oregon, too, they were missing Thibodeau that day. They were missing their best defensive player, and they still won that game. He's probably the best player in the country as well.
But they also lost to Stanford. That was their loss. That's a terrible loss to lose to a 3-win team. I know Stanford's well coached, but they lost to a 3-win team.
They should have won, though. That PI was atrocious call. That was ridiculous. That was not PI. He didn't touch. He didn't even touch. The cornerback didn't even really touch him. They're kind of fighting towards. I thought it was ridiculous. That should have been a no call at the end of the game. They should have won that game. They don't go to OT, and then they kind of got. There was another bad call in OT that they got against them. So, I have a hard time holding it against them. They should have won. Yeah, they should have probably beat them by more, but they didn't have their OC there at the last second because of a medical emergency. I see Jason comments. Yeah, the close losses don't matter, but close wins are counted against you with Oklahoma and Cincinnati. Yeah, and
sure.
Yeah, because I was in a. What are you gonna say? You can go.
No, go ahead. No, you go ahead. No, you got it.
Right. Okay. So for Oklahoma, the only thing, because they've looked different with Caleb Williams, but let's not forget, Kansas on the road, you were losing for the first 45 minutes of that game, and they should have. And that was the smartest play I've ever seen a freshman quarterback make, was take the ball away from his running back. Because who knows? After that, Kansas may have gone in and scored a touchdown and win that game. So, but again, this is Oklahoma's bulk of the schedule after the pie is Baylor, Iowa State, and at Oak State. They run the table, they'll be in. They're going to jump Cincinnati. The committee's not putting Cincinnati undefeated. They'll put 2-loss Alabama in front of Cincinnati, which if they do, I'm going back to the computers. I'm done with their dumb bias rankings. It's ridiculous. Because I think Cincinnati will get jumped by somebody if they run the table, and I think that team will be OU. Yeah, but because it's because I don't get it. Because it's it does seem like losses don't matter, but if you win, it always seems like it's better to lose close than it is to win close. It really does seem like that matters. Yep. And a win's a win. That's what I've learned. A win is a win. So but I just, you don't know, and their criteria changes every week. So I really do not know what to think here. All I know is they really try to, I just cannot see Cincinnati making it in the top 4. I just can't. Unfortunately, I want them to see them in because there'll be better games, but they have 20 starters back, and they gave Georgia a run for their money last year. So you even want to go back to the Sugar Bowl last year? Cincinnati, gave Georgia all they could handle last year. So I don't get it. I don't get really, and I should understand why the committee does it, but because it's all money. It's all about money. But you want to make your sport better, put some new fresh blood in there because people are tired of the same old 4 teams.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just very inconsistent, surprising. Oklahoma was disrespected, but we'll see what happens next week with the committee. But we'll get to the games, and we'll start with the game in North Carolina between Wake Forest and UNC. I think this is a close, high-scoring game. But I feel like Sam Hartman pulls the upset. I think he's been disrespected. I don't know why Sam Hartman has not been on draft boards. He's draft eligible. I don't know why he's not been on enough draft boards. I haven't seen him on. I think he's had a great year for Wake Forest. He's carried this Wake Forest team, and I think Wake Forest goes into Chapel Hill and they pull the upset and they remain undefeated.
Yeah, I got Wake 2, 41-37. Now, this is a non-conference game, so even if they lose, it doesn't go against them of winning the Atlantic just because of conference realignment. With the 7 teams out, it's only 8 games in division. It was like the last time they played, which at 15. I think the next time they play again is like 2023. So they because it's a rivalry game, they wanted to kind of.
Oh, so this game doesn't go against. This doesn't go against their conference record.
No,
that's great. But they're in the same conference.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. That's that's a disappointment at conference realignment. You lose kind of regional rivalry like this, because North Carolina's protected rival in the Atlantic Division is NC State. Wake Forest is Duke. So, and if they can't play each other every year, because then that takes away, you're not playing any of the teams in the opposite division. So, because you only get 2 games a year against the other division. So that's why they did it home and home. They played last year as well. But anyways, in this game, I do, Sam Hartman, this team is very underrated. It's a very fast tempo offense. Robertson's having a really nice year wide receiver. I think he's got 36 catches, 37 catches, something like that. Explosive, and it's a very explosive offense. I think they're the fastest pace. They run like 3 plays a minute. You don't really have time to get new guys out there. I think Sam Hartman plays well. I think Wake Forest does feel disrespected by everybody. This is going to be a tough one. I think it's going to be a total shootout. I think Sam Howell plays well in this game. But also, Wake Forest is the last team, and since the AP poll came about in 1939, to ever be ranked in the top 10. So now every Power 5 team has been ranked in the top 10 at least once. I thought that was a pretty cool stat. But Clawson's 7-11 in November. They haven't won more than 2 games in any of his seasons. He's done a very nice job. He's been very underrated. He's done it's a tough place to, coach at Wake Forest, but I think they get it done. I think that, North Carolina, I don't know if I thought they played well in North Carolina or Notre Dame last week. They had a couple of turnovers. I think we're the difference in that game. Their defense really struggled once again. I think their defense struggles again this week. I'll take the Demon Deacons to win on the road.
You got the Buckeyes traveling to Lincoln to face the Nebraska Cornhuskers, and I think this is going to be a blowout. I think Ohio State wins by 2 or 3 scores. I don't trust Scott Frost, and I think Ryan Day's team wins big over Nebraska.
I actually in the Nebraska team did keep this thing close. I got 38-27. Now
you love to back Scott Frost.
I don't know why I do. Trust me. I don't know why I do. But I feel very bad because in his press conference last week, he looks like a broken man that has no answers, and I do feel for him. He's now 5-18 in games decided by less than 8 points. All 6 losses this year have been decided by 8 points or less. They can't pull out a win. And then he's now 15-26 in the Big Ten and 6-15 versus Big Ten West opponents. He's really struggled. Even if they fire him, I don't know who they bring in that's going to turn this thing around. That's the thing. I don't know who's going to fix Nebraska. It's not Scott Frost, I don't think, and I don't know if there's anybody out there for him. But anyways, about this game, I think they keep it close. I think Nebraska has talent. Again, they lost by a touchdown to Oklahoma. They could have won that game. They should have beat Purdue last week. They had 3, and Adrian Martinez the second half. That's one of his issues. I don't think his backup quarterback's hurry. I haven't seen enough from him that I could really judge if that's a better option or not. But Martinez, I think he's just too loyal to, and he's just been so bad at times. I just don't understand why. Their defense has played well in Nebraska, and I think their defense keeps them in it. I think their offense does enough against Ohio State in this game. Even though Ryan Day said it's he compared it to March Madness. It's surviving advance right now for the Buckeyes. I assume they play a lot better this week. But I think Nebraska has some talent. They just have zero idea how to win a game. I think they keep this thing close for a while, and Ohio State kind of pulled away towards the end. 38-27, Buckeyes win.
Gotcha. We'll stay in the Big Ten as the as the 3rd ranked team in the country. Michigan State travels to to West Lafayette to face Purdue. And the question is, can Purdue beat another undefeated team? They did it with Iowa, but Iowa's not Michigan State. And I do think that Purdue keeps it close, but I just think Kenneth Walker's going to be too much on the ground. He's going to have another huge day. That's why I think he's the front runner to win the Heisman Trophy. And I got Michigan State winning by double digits over Purdue.
Really? I got the giant killer in Purdue winning this game, 30-24. Now, this is a tweet.
No. Wow. Really? Wow. What tweet did you see?
This is a tweet from Chris Felicia of the Bear, game that if you took the lowest in-game win probability for Michigan State versus Miami, it was 18.3%. Indiana was at 49.8%. Nebraska was 6.4%. And Michigan 7.7%. It would have given Michigan State a 0.05% chance of winning all 4 games. Again, at some point they cannot get lucky. And Purdue, now I know they're not a top. This stat, it's since the AP poll came about, Purdue has 9 wins against AP top 2 teams as an unranked foe, which is the most in college football. I know they're not ranked top 2, but I think it does show that this team's not afraid. Even with Jeff Brom, you saw him blow out Ohio State a few years ago. I think they win this game. I think this is the week. It's a letdown week for Michigan State. Kenneth Walker has been unbelievable, those 5 touchdowns, and they were not all from the 1-yard line. They were pretty decent runs. David Bell, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the entire country. He had 11 catches and 240 yards against Iowa. I think he'd have a big day against the secondary.
So you think he will be the difference to get? You think he will be the guy that will help Purdue? He will be the guy that will help Purdue beat Michigan State.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he has some big plays in this game. Michigan State secondary is not great. They start to run, but Purdue doesn't run the ball. I think Aiden O'Connell's been playing better. I think they won this game through the air. Purdue's defense has played pretty well this year. I think they keep them in check, and I think that Purdue at home, it's a letdown spot for Michigan State here. I'm going to take the Boilermakers to win this game, 30-24.
Wow. I'm shocked you just picked against Michigan State. I'm shocked, but I'll be texting you if you're right again with Purdue.
All right.
We'll see what happens there. You did pick Michigan State last week, though, to beat Harbaugh, so we'll see what ends up happening here. But we'll get to the Big 12 now. We got a matchup in Morgantown as Oklahoma State heads to West Virginia to face the Mountaineers, and I think Oklahoma wins. Oklahoma State stays in the race to win the Big 12, and I think they win it by a touchdown over West Virginia.
Yeah, I got Oak State here on the road, 27-21. Tough place to go to Morgantown and win a game, but I think as long as Spencer Sanders keeps care of the ball and doesn't commit a lot of turnovers, I think they should be able to win this game. I think it's going to come down to what team kind of can Oklahoma State get the run game going against West Virginia, which I think they'll be able to. West Virginia last week played really well against Iowa State, especially offensively. They're you put pretty well last week, 340 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Oklahoma State's defense a lot better than Iowa State has been lately, so I think Oklahoma State makes some stops in this game. But I think Oklahoma State finds a way to win this game, but I would not be shocked to see the Mountaineers pull this one out at home. They've been playing a little bit better the last few weeks. The Mountaineers have.
We will stay in the Big 12 as Baylor faces TCU, and I think Baylor wins this game. And obviously, Gary Patterson, he stepped away this week. I think Baylor wins this game and wins it by a couple scores. I got Baylor staying in the Big 12 race just like I do with Oklahoma State. I got Baylor winning by 2 scores.
Yeah, I got Baylor up 38-28 winning this game. I quick kind of on here, Gary Patterson. He built that program. They're not in the Big 12 without him. They're supposed to be a pretty good team this year. They're supposed to fight for the Big 12. The first year of the college football playoff, they got absolutely they won 55-3 and they dropped 3 spots. So it's a team that inaugural year could have been right there in the college football playoffs. And I see Hector, the Sick and Bears, they've been playing really well. I thought Texas was going to knock them off last week. They found a way to win. They were the better team. I think TCU cannot stop the run. They have no defensive identity whatsoever, which I thought their defense was going to be pretty good this year. A lot of other people did too. Their defense is horrific, and I think Baylor runs all over them. I think Gary Boheim plays well. I think TCU can kind of get it going as well in their running game, but TCU has given up at least 240 rushing yards the last 3 weeks, so I just don't see how TCU can keep up with the Baylor Bears. I think they're going to be able to run all over them. I think TCU will have success on the ground as well, but not enough to beat Baylor, and I think they keep rolling on.
We got a huge game in the SEC between Texas A&M and Auburn. I think this is the game of the day. These are 2 teams that still have their very slim chances, but still have a chance to get to the college football playoff. Obviously, this is a playoff game because whoever loses is out of it. It's definitely done. These are two lost teams, but we told you the scenario. I told you the scenarios when we were going over the playoff system that if Texas A&M could beat Auburn and they could beat Alabama, then they did beat Alabama and they wind up in a 3-way tie. They're going to play Georgia for the SEC title, and if Auburn can win out and beat Alabama, they're going to play Georgia for the SEC title game. So these are 2 teams that still have a shot at the college football playoff. I think this is a close competitive game, but I'm going to go with the home team, and I'm going to go with the better coach team with Jimbo Fisher. I think Isaiah Spiller's the difference. I think he gets enough yardage on the grounds. I think Texas A&M defense contains Bigsby. They forced Bo Nix to make a mistake. Bo Nix has played better on the road, but we all know he's struggled. He's not as good on the road as he is at home. That's why I got Texas A&M winning this game and ending Auburn's hopes to make the college football playoff.
I've been picking against Auburn every week. Yeah, every time we talk about it, I'm picking against them every week. But I've kind of learned my lesson here. I'm going to take the Auburn Tigers this week. I got a 27-23 going on the road. I think maybe that bye too for the Aggies that they just come off of, maybe not the best time as they finally started to kind of get an identity with the running game. Play action with Zach Calzada was really starting to kind of pan out. But Auburn, Bo Nix has 289 interceptions in the league. That's it. 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And it's been because it takes big speed, running the football, play action. Brian Hartson, I didn't really think was gonna be that great of a hire, but so far it's panned out well. I guess that's usually what happens with these Auburn hires, and by year 4 or 5, they usually run their course. But so far he's worked out. I'm gonna trust. I trust Bo Nix more than I do Zach Calzada. I think Auburn's defense makes a couple plays in this game. Force a couple turnovers. Spiller's been really good. If they could slow down that, I think Auburn's secondary could make a play or two. Because again, I don't like outside of Jalen Wademeyer, I don't really like any AM's wide receivers in this game. I don't think they can make very possibly they make a big play or two, but I like the way Auburn's playing. I'll take Bigsby, Bo Nix to do enough offensively, and I'm going to take the Auburn Tigers to go on the road and win this game.
We'll stay in the SEC. We got LSU traveling to Bama. We talk about this game every year, so we'll talk about it this year, but Bama should win this game big. This should be a blowout. I got Bama winning this by 4 scores.
I got LSU keeping this thing close. I got 45-27. Again, I cannot stand Alabama's secondary. I don't think it's that good. I think this is Nick Saban's worst defense since 2007. This is his first year. This defense would be pretty good. I know they've been banged up at times, but Tennessee hits some very big plays. If LSU comes out fighting for it.
Yeah, Florida almost beat them. Yeah, Florida almost beat them too.
Yeah, Florida almost.
And you could say they struggled on the road, but they struggled with Tennessee at home for a good part of that game.
They did. That's why I don't really agree with them being number 2, but it is what it is. So I think if LSU comes out of this game fighting for Ed Orgeron, then I definitely think LSU keeps this game close because I think Max Johnson makes a couple big plays. They hit some big plays. I know they're missing the top wide receiver, Bowdy, but again, I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball much in this game. But I think Max Johnson can make some plays in this game. I don't think LSU is going to get a lot of stops in this game. But if LSU, I think LSU can come out and keep up with them for a little bit, not for 60 minutes, but I think they do enough. Bryce Young's been playing really well for the Tigers. Brian Robinson's really getting the running game going. But if LSU doesn't come out and they don't care at all, then they're kind of fed up with Orgeron. Who knows? They could lose this game by 50, but I expect them to come out, play hard this game, and I think they keep it competitive.
We'll wrap up talking about Oregon and Washington, and I think Oregon wins this game by a couple scores. I saw Washington early in the season against Michigan; they're absolutely terrible. I think Oregon with Anthony Brown gets rushing yards, gets a couple passing yards. I think Kayvon Thibodeau is a big game, and Sewell at linebacker is a big game. I got Oregon winning this by 2 scores.
Yeah, I got the Ducks win this 131-20. Washington head coach Jimmy Lake on Monday was kind of somebody asked him about, is Oregon your biggest kind of recruiting rival? And he said no, because we battle for more of the academic prowess schools with Notre Dame, USC, and Stanford. He kind of dissed Oregon there, and I didn't think. Well, I don't think of Washington on that kind of academic level with those 3, but
I don't either.
So I think Oregon's heard that message, and I think they come in very angry. They gave up 29 points to Colorado last week, but 14 of those or 15 of those came in the fourth quarter with the second stringers in. So I think Oregon wins this game. Anthony Brown, I thought, looked really good last week. Travis Dye right now, I think, has a big game on the ground. Dylan Morris, the Washington quarterback right now, he's just not ready. They don't have a quarterback right now that's ready for the Division I level. They really struggle to run the football, and I think Oregon shuts that down. I think Oregon wins this game 34-20. I can't see Washington doing a whole lot offensively in this game. I think they struggle here and on Saturday.
We'll see what happens. Very interesting week 10 of the college football season. But that's going to wrap it up on Sports Talk with R&J. For our producer, Jace Garcia, who did a great job. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking about week 10 of the NFL season, week 11 of the college football season, and talking some UConn basketball. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.